Hi, it's Mike with AskTractorMike.com. Well, I normally do tractor videos, but today I'm going to talk about a subject that is really timely if you live in an area that raises deciduous plants. And deciduous plants, of course, are plants that drop their leaves. If you live in northern Arkansas, southern Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, East Virginia, North Carolina, around that area, and north, and you want to transplant a tree, in other words, you've got a tree planted somewhere, you don't want it and you want to move it, well, now's a great time to do that. And so that's our topic today, is the best time of year to transplant trees. And on my property, I've got a couple of trees that I'm going to try to move and have survive. And I grew up on an apple orchard, and every year we would get our bare-rooted trees. They'd come in a long, about an 8-foot box, and they were bare-rooted, no dirt around the root system. And we would plant those this time of year, and we had really good luck. And bare-rooted trees are fine having no dirt around them as long as you keep the roots moist. If the roots dry out, they'll die, but as long as you keep the roots moist. And our boxes would come from Stark Brothers Nursery, and we would open them up, and they would have moist towels or rags or something around them. And then we would take them out of the box and put some kind of a towel around them to keep them moist and get them in the ground as soon as we could. Well, I'm not planting a bare-rooted tree today. I'm going to dig a tree out of the ground and plant it. And I'm doing this video because I feel like right now, and there's a really tight window here, is the best time of year to do something like this and have the tree or plant survive. And I did a crepe myrtle last year, and it's doing great. I've done lots of trees this way. Now, a lot of people wait until the tree's got leaves on it or the plant's got leaves on it. And you'll almost never have success. If it's growing and got leaves on it or flowering, they'll almost die every time. But if you get them right before they break dormancy, and right now in my area, stuff's just getting ready to leave out, you'll have a good rate of success. And so what I'm going to do today, I have a long ditch here with rocks in it. And I did a video about when we put that in. We had an erosion problem here, and we dug it out with a mini excavator and put in what's called riprap or big rocks, and that cut down the erosion problem and made me an area where I don't have to mow, which I was having to weed eat it before. The problem is it gets lots of leaves in it, and some plants I don't want, like Bermuda grass, that I may have to spray. But if you have flowering trees in your area that drop seeds that are airborne, they'll light in this ditch and they'll grow good. It's a great place to germinate them. Well, up here at the top of the hill, I've got a Catalpa tree. And I'm going to try to dig it up. It's growing right next to my driveway in the rock. And we're going to try to dig it up and replant it and see how we do. But this, if you live in an area along the plain where I live, now's the time to do this if you want to move plants, and you'll have success. But what we're going to do is we're going to pull the rocks back and try to dig out as much of the root ball as we can and move it. And I think we'll have success because of the time it is. If you try to do this in the winter, I've tried it before where I did it at the start of winter, but usually in winter, plants go through a lot of stress even though they're dormant. And if you do it at the start of winter or middle part of winter, a lot of times, it's cold outside. You can't dig too well if the ground is mildly frozen. But if you do it right now, it's perfect. And I'll give you a few little tips on how to be successful with a project like this. But we're going to get this Catalpa tree. And what I want to do with it, Catalpa trees, there's better trees to plant. They have pretty weak wood, but they grow fast. Most trees that grow fast have weak wood. But I've got an area between my neighbor and me where we used to have 2 gigantic oak trees. And it kind of gave us a natural barrier, a little more privacy. And one of those oak trees fell down. And I'm going to get this Catalpa tree, dig it out, and put it there. And Catalpa trees have pretty flowers on them. Sometimes they get some worms on them, which is a negative. But they grow fast. And I'm 66 years old, don't have that many years left. So I want a tree that's going to grow fast and give me a natural barrier between me and my neighbor. And we're going to dig this one up right here. And this Catalpa tree is about 4 foot tall. And they grow about well, that's a year old, I think. They grow 4 to 6 feet a year. Kind of weak wood. They have flowers all over them, like I said, that are pretty, and then these pods that are kind of messy, but they grow quick. And yeah, I think if I put it up on my hill there, probably in 5 years, I'll have a pretty good barrier between me and my neighbor. So I'm going to try to dig it up today. It's in this rock, and this may be a lot of fun trying to get out of the ground. And I may not be successful. But if you're wanting to move a tree in the south, I don't know, because you guys have those coniferous pine tree type stuff down there. And I don't know when the best time to transplant them is. I'd say it was probably past. But if you're in the Midwest or upper Midwest, you got about a 2 or 3 week window here. And if you live like in Minnesota or the Dakotas or up in there, Michigan, you probably got it a little longer than that. But if you transplant it now, before it breaks dormancy, it will barely notice that you moved it. So that's what we're going to do today. There's a hole that I've cleaned out that I've got to get the root ball out of. That tree has got a pretty good root system already developed on it. And if I damage too much of it, I'll have to just dig out the root ball and plant it and cut the tree down to the base and let it make a new tree, as it'll do that. All right, I got to get to work. There you go. There it is. All right, let's go plant it. All right, kind of got a bare spot right here where I'm going to plant this. And it's far away from our house to the neighbor's house. It's right in between. And it's enough under that tree, and it's not going to get shaded. And there's a wild cherry tree there. It's not going to shade it. Otherwise, it's open. And there's a bare spot on the ground where the old log of the previous tree, which I wheeled off over into the gully over there, sat for a couple of years. We're just going to plant it right there. Okay, so there's the hole, and there's the tree in it. And the hole is not that deep, but you watch me work on it. Now, I'll tell you a couple of things I've learned about transplanting trees. First off, if you've got a damaged root, like see this one right here is all gnarled up and broken, just take a set of lopping shears and just cut it off. It won't hurt the tree at all, because when that root is trying to heal and everything, and it's kind of sliced through a little bit, that's going to be tough. And I'm going to cut another couple of the roots off. I've got a good chunk of the root ball on this, and this is, you know, it's got more of a fibrous root system. If that had a really big taproot going down, it'd be bad. But I got a big chunk of the roots. Now there's one right there. I'm going to cut a couple of these off, and this will encourage growth. But I'm leaving all the rest. And the tree was aimed in the same direction I'm putting it back in the hole. And that direction there is west, and that's north. And the prevailing winds will come from the west and the north. So I'm putting the existing root system in. We don't have to worry about it blowing over this way, but it could blow over this way. So we're putting the roots that I got out on the side where the prevailing winds are blowing this way. And then we'll just gradually fill it in. And I see one more root. I'm going to lop this one right here off. And mainly because I didn't want to dig anymore. But that all kind of fits in there. Now, if it was a really expensive tree and I was really wanting to give it I'm going to cut that limb off, every chance of living, I would have made just a little bit bigger hole See, these roots right here are going to go against the side, but I think by it being a catalpa and they're pretty hardy, that's going to recover just fine like that. Now, watch me put the dirt back in. As I'm putting the dirt in, I'll put a little bit in at a time and then tamp it down good so so the tree has good contact with the soil. That's where she's going to go right there. Now, every step of the way, I'm going to tamp down with my either my hands or my foot, and I'm going to try to make sure we get it. It'll grow toward the sun, but I'm going to try to get it as level as I can as I'm planting it. And I want to be real careful around these fibrous roots that I don't damage them, because that's what's going to give it water and food as we're starting out. But don't be afraid to tamp it down good. Like I said, be careful around the fibrous roots, but around the outside, it's all right to push down with all your weight, and that'll make sure she's good in the ground and it doesn't come out if we get a windstorm. Now, as soon as I get it in the ground, I've brought some water, and you don't want to overwater a tree, but you sure don't want it drying out while it's recovering from the shock of this. I need a little dirt. Yeah, right there to keep it level. Yeah, that's looking good. And I brought some waste hay to put around it to kind of keep the moisture in the soil while she's starting out. Okay to tamp down with your foot there, but around the middle part where those fibrous roots are, I'm going to tamp down with my 2 fingers and just make that good and firm so I don't damage them. You want your best soil if you can get it around there, around the fibrous roots. I've got a little topsoil here that's best we got that I'm going to push in there. Now, my family has a traditional saying that we say anytime we're planting a tree. The last shovel full of dirt goes in and we're clamping it down, we'll say to the tree, root hog or die. Now, last thing I'm going to do is spread some waste hay around it just to keep the weeds down when they come and keep the moisture in. And I've got it in this bucket that I have filled halfway up with water, so it's moist already, but I'm going to go ahead and pour that on the tree. And I'll probably come down in a couple of days and water it again if it doesn't rain, but it's supposed to rain the middle part of the week, so that may be fine. You definitely don't want to overwater them, just don't let them dry out. Well, here's the finished product. If this was a tree with a lot of limbs coming out from the trunk, I would prune off a few limbs to offset the roots that I damaged. I always like to, anytime I'm transplanting a tree, if I damaged, a 1/5 of the roots, I'd like to take off almost that amount of the upper limbs to offset that. But with this being a single trunk and it being a catalpa tree, and I'm not really concerned that much about whether it lives or not, if it doesn't live, the stalk might die, but it could probably come out from the roots, then I'd be fine. So I'm not going to do anything to it. If it was an apple tree, I'd cut it off about right here, and that would encourage growth out from the trunk to make limbs to go out to make apples, and then I would keep the middle part open so they all got light. But being a catalpa tree, this is just what I want. I appreciate you watching my videos. I would be honored if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can do that by clicking the mic face icon, and make sure you check the bell so you get notified when I post future videos. Right here's the link to my website and the Tractor Fun Store with cool things for sale for the tractor owner to help support my channel. And here's another couple of videos you might want to watch. Thanks for watching.